listening to the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. Radio's authority on the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology, celebrating 25 years of broadcasting. Broadcasting around the world and to the great beyond. Listening to the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. Radio's authority on the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology, celebrating 25 years of broadcasting. Broadcasting around the world and to the great beyond.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome back to the X-Zone, everyone. We're still coming to you live and around the world from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Worldwide, toll-free, 800-610-7035. Email xzone at xzoneradiotv.com on all social media sites, X-Zone Radio TV. And our main website, where you can listen to the show Monday through Friday from 8 p.m. until midnight. And then the rest of the 24-hour clock is the best of the X-Zone at www.xzoneradiotv.com. My guest this hour is Allan Green, and Allan has been guiding past life and spiritual journey sessions for over 35 years, facilitating over 26,000 individual journeys with people. He lives with his wife, Catherine, and their 6 cats in Oompa. Is it Oompa? Ampa. All right, Ampa, Ontario, which is about 35 miles away from Perth, Ontario. Their center is called the Goddess and the Green Man Crystal Earth Retreat and Healing Center. Now, when you go on a journey with Allan, the sessions are controlled by your guides, and Allan can see what you see and feel what you feel. For more information, you can visit these 3 websites, www.allangreen.ca, www.crystalearthhealingspa.com, and www.catherinegreen.net. And Allan, welcome to the X-Zone.
It's wonderful to be with you.
Allan, how did you get started doing past life work?
I think that when anybody starts doing any healing work or something, they sort of have a sense about something. They'll touch a person, all of a sudden the person will say, well, that was really great healing. Mm-hmm. And they'll start to work with that, and eventually it becomes a skill. So back in 1982, I was in a thing called a spook group. That sounds crazy, I know. It was a group of people that were deep trance channelers, and they could leave their body and the spirit would speak through them. And I was a part of that group. I couldn't do that, but at least I had a wonderful experience for 2 years. But then a lady in that group took me aside, and she came to my apartment, and she knocked on the door, and I opened it. She said, follow me. Her name was Heather. And she grabbed onto my wrist and took me to the living room. I said, what are you doing? She says, you're going to take me back into a past life. Well, I said, like hell you are. And she says, close your eyes, I'm going back. Exactly. So I sat down on the floor, and she lay down on the couch. And basically, she said, close your eyes, I'm going back. So I said, well, I'm kind of stuck to the floor. I might as well do it. So I closed my eyes, and instantly I saw her in a fighter plane over the English Channel. It crashed into the ocean, and the whole apartment got freezing cold because we're underneath the water. So I realized within 30 seconds I have the ability to see what people see and feel what they feel. And so I could have just let it go, but for 13 years I did it for free as kind of my apprenticeship.
Right.
And then I started to work full-time with it in 1995, and then left my daytime job in 2004, doing it full-time ever since.
Fascinating. Truly fascinating. 26,000 individual journeys with people.
Now, what happens is that means that I've worked with about 6,000 or 7,000 people, because each person has about 5 or 6 journeys per person. And therefore, each journey can contain maybe 100 different aspects of that journey.
How do you keep track of all these journeys?
Well, I'm a Virgo. I should be able to, but I don't.
Oh, I see.
What I do is I don't keep track of them because fortunately I don't have any ego attached to this work. And when I'm done the session, within a couple of days, I will forget about the whole session. And I pretty well figured out how many sessions I do, but that's about it. But I can meet a person 10 years later and sit and meet them on the park bench, and they'll say, do you remember the journey? And because I'm back in their aura, I'll remember the past life again.
Isn't that fascinating? My wife thinks it's strange that she can ask me 5 minutes after I get home who my guests were tonight, and I won't be able to tell her.
And that's because you have no ego attached to it. If you had ego attached to it, you would remember every guest and everything they said. So that's a sign of a healthy relationship with your guests.
I love my guests. You know what? I believe I've got the best job in the world, and I can tell talking to you for these few minutes that you, too, love what you do, and this is the greatest part about what I do is meeting people who are making a positive difference in other people's lives. Allan,
it's a passion, isn't it?
It is, my friend, it is. Allan, stand by. You and I have to take our first break. We'll be back on the other side shortly. X-Zone Nation, Allan Green is my special guest. How past life and spiritual journeys can help heal and empower your life is the topic this hour. 3 websites, allangreen.ca, crystalearthhealingspa.com, and catherinegreen.net. Now, green is not spelt with an E this time. It's Green. Allan and I will be back on the other side of the short break as we continue here in the X-Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away. Afterlife expert Roberta Grimes was the first one to say that dying can be fun. Now her best-selling book, The Fun of Dying, is available in stores worldwide. So if you wonder whether death ends life, how it feels to die, or what heaven might be like, The Fun of Dying was written for you. And if you have always been afraid of death, or if you worry that your life has no meaning, let The Fun of Dying ease your fears and bring new meaning to your life. Nothing said in The Fun of Dying is based on the teachings of any religion. Instead, Roberta draws on evidence to explain how death happens, how it feels, and what comes next. A lot of the best death-related evidence was produced in the first half of the 20th century. When it is put together with recent discoveries, it tells a consistent and amazing story. Roberta Grimes blogs and answers questions at robertagrimes.com. Her wonderful book, The Fun of Dying, is available on Amazon and at stores worldwide wherever books are sold. You're listening to the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net.
While science pursues fact, magic accesses the quantum level, bridging random facts to form truth. As long as science and magic remain separate and polarized, the truth cannot be known. I'm Wilda Wieka. Join me on the Science of Magic radio program dedicated to unification and evolution of consciousness. During each episode, I'll be speaking with experienced and respected scientists and mystics. From astrologers to astronomers, from medical doctors to shaman, the scientific method to dowsing and intuition, we will weave together information from seemingly divergent practices to promote unity and enlightenment. Join me, Wilda Wieka, and the Science of Magic right here on the X Zone Broadcast Network. For more information, visit www.thescienceofmagic.net.
Starr began to demonstrate a metaphysical connection to the spirit world as a little girl. Her family noticed the connection, but it was a great-grandmother who told the family that Linnea was indeed gifted. The great-grandmother, who was also gifted, felt that Linnea had indeed inherited these attributes. It has been noticed that oftentimes such things are passed down through the generations. Linnea was also born with a caul, a thin white membrane across a newborn's face. Legend has it that if the baby is born with this caul, the child will have second sight, or what we call psychic abilities. Linnea Starr does past, present, and future, and has the gift of prophecy. It is written within scriptures that if you are able to give factual information, and prophecies indeed come true, the gift indeed comes from the divine realm. Linnea Starr does large interactive groups as well as private gatherings. For more information on Linnea Starr or to contact Linnea for a one-on-one consultation, visit her website at www.linneastar.com. That's www.linneastar.com. You're listening to the X Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. Welcome back, everyone. Allan Green is our guest this hour. The topic of the day, well, this hour anyway, is how past life and spiritual journeys can help heal and empower your life. And Allan, tell me about children viewing their past lives. How does this affect the child, and how does this affect you?
Very well put. There seems to be a thing from age 1 until about 8 years old. Children remember their past lives. And after 8 years old, then that seems to be all conjecture, and they just remember what's in front of their noses, like their iPad or whatever. But when I was in the spook group, there was a man that came in the group, and he said that he was painting in the bathroom, and his 3-year-old son said, "Dad, I want to paint." And he said, "Well, son, you're too young to be a painter." And the son says, "No, Dad, I was a painter." So then he said, "Wait a minute," and he called Mother in, and they both sat down and said, "Tell Mom and Dad, what do you mean you were a painter?" He said, I was a painter. They put me on a table, they cut me with a scalpel, and I died. Now, where does a 3-year-old get the word scalpel? Now, when I do work with young children, people come to me because they have some issue or phobia, and the youngest I work with is 7 years old. And you don't say to them, "Let's go back into your past lives and see what's going on," because they don't know what you're talking about. So you say, "Let's go back into your memory and see, where this issue comes from." And one child had a massive fear of lightning so bad that if he saw it on the 401 when they're driving along in the car, he would scream in terror, and they have to pull over the side of the road and hold him down until the lightning went away. So the mother came to me, and the attention span, of course, of a 7-year-old is quite young. But I'm finding that kids that are 12 years old or something have about the mentality of a 30-year-old now. So it's easier to work with them. It's really well done. But anyway, the 7-year-old, he saw himself in England as a 15-year-old, standing underneath a tree, and it was raining, and the lightning came down and split the tree right in half behind him, which scared the living daylights out of him, and that's why he has a fear of lightning. So we had a discussion about that, and pretty well said that, there's no trees that size anymore, and also, you're not going to be in the rain underneath the tree. Then we moved it forward and found out, he said, I'm driving my steam bulldozer. And I went, steam bulldozer? I said, how old are you? And this is a 7-year-old kid, and he says, I said, what year is it? And he says, this is 1880. And apparently the earth gave away, and his bulldozer slid into the earth. So he's afraid of also holes, sinkholes. And then we moved it forward, and he was making his own buildings in a construction company, and a tornado came along and started throwing the bricks off the roof and off the walls. And he says, I drove away in my truck as fast as I could. So he has 3 different things that we talked to the mother later. About a week later, he has no more fear of lightning.
My goodness.
Yeah.
How did the children feel when they've gone viewing their past lives? Do they miss anyone from their past lives? Do they pine for their past lives? Are they aware enough to know that this is something that happened in the past and now it's time to go ahead in this new life?
This is very, very incredibly good questions. When they do it, it's like it's just a part of their own reality now. It doesn't seem anything different. So one lady came in and she said, I said, your daughter you had in the past life, there's 2 twins, 2 girls, and what's one person I like? And she told me that she's very peaceful and intelligent. The other one's really, really active and physical. I said, when you put those 2 parts together with one woman now, who would that be? And this girl said, it's my mother now. And so, when the children view things, they can say, well, Mom, you were my dad in a past life, and my sister was my brother. And because we have a thing called a soul group, up to 12 people that reincarnate into the same area over and over again to help each other through. And then we have a thing called a soul family, up to 144, which are friends that are really close, but you don't see them and they don't affect your life as dramatically. So the kids just think of it as a natural thing, and you always leave open-ended questions because you got to be very, very careful that you don't focus them in a certain area and force them to say what you want them to say.
Can a child understand that or let me rephrase that question. When a child is doing a past life,
right,
can they recall the information that they've had from maybe 1, 2, or 3 past lives and use it in their present life?
Yes. It's more of an adult that does that. The children just want to know how they know people and how the relationships fit together. And like, for instance, a mother will ask me to go back, who's pregnant, will ask me to go back into past life and see that child and what that child did, and therefore, she can guide that child towards a career or a direction or a passion that they did in a past life. Interesting.
So it can be part guidance as well, information.
Yeah. Yes, it really works out that well, and with the women. Yeah.
Now, you've had success with helping heal physical issues this life that came from wounds in the past life. Can you explain that to me?
Well, there's almost 50 people I work with that have totally healed migraine headaches because it comes from a head wound in a past life. And the head wound, we go back and basically, we heal the head wound, the skull, maybe the brain fluid, put the hair back together and all that type of thing, synopsis. And all of a sudden, the migraine headache goes away. And the migraine headache will start from exactly where that head wound was in a past life.
My goodness.
Yeah. And there's another thing, too. One lady came to me, and she was kind of walking like as if she was crippled, and she had a cane. I said, how long have you had this problem? She goes, for 3 months. And sometimes in a past life, at a certain age, you had something happen to you, and that will reoccur this age if you didn't clear it up. And if it builds on it, it can cripple you again. So this lady came, and I said, you want to find out where this comes from? She said, yes. So we went back into past life and saw her lying on the ground. She was a Union soldier, and they had this big arrow stuck through her knee. And she looked up, and there was Colonel Custer shooting his pistol. And she was one of the soldiers that was killed in that massacre. And, of course, the arrow in the knee was the first trauma because she realized, well, now she cannot run away. She's going to die. And so what we did was we healed we took out the arrow, we healed the wound, the cartilage, the tendons, the muscles, the veins, all that type of thing. And then we went and it was pretty well healed because she's a Reiki master, so am I. The next day she went on a 3-mile walk with her dog with no problem at all. All the swelling disappeared and everything.
Let me ask you a question that I'm sure you get asked all the time. How do you know if people aren't just making this stuff up when they come to you?
Yes. When in spiritual stuff, most of it is done through the heart. You know, when a psychic says he sees a spirit around you, they don't really see that spirit. They feel that spirit. And with me, because I can see and feel the experience with them, they can start making it up. And this happens about 1 in every 1,000 people, fortunately. And they'll start saying, "Oh, I'm a beautiful woman on a horse with a knight beside me, and I'm straining to see this, but I don't see it at all. Everything goes black for me if they're not telling the truth." And I'll say, "Look, you have a choice. I won't charge you. You can go home, or you can actually do the work." I said, just go back into your heart and just feel it. The first thing you get is true. The second thing is your mind saying it can't be true.
Tell me about viewing your inner child.
Well, the inner child is interesting. It is something that I found out by accident, of course, where a person, it's a spiritual journey when you go to meet your inner child. And with the inner child, they start off at age 0 with you, and then they go through your whole life and inside you, almost in the center core of who you are. And if let's say your grandmother died when you were 4 years old and she was close, that can affect you dramatically because then you're all of a sudden afraid of losing anybody. Maybe your parents break up, maybe move to another country, maybe you get married. A woman will often give herself over totally to a man and forget about herself, and that stops the inner child for a little while. Then a mother might give birth to a daughter who she'll vicariously live as her inner child. And then you might have a career change or marriage breakup. And all these things sort of stop the inner child's growth. And when they show us the inner child, it's like viewing a past life, but there's nobody there but the inner child. There can be a whole city that would hold 300,000 people, and there's nobody there but the inner child. We just move her forward and sort of a vignettes of her life that she needs to work on.
Somebody contacts you at your spa, or contacts Catherine, and arranges for a past life session with you.
Right.
How does it work once the person gets to your spa?
Oh, very good. Well, for instance, who brings us the people are the people's guides. That's how we. So the more we do work on the other side, the more the guides say, "Oh, we can use Catherine, we can use Allan, we can use other people, whoever it is." And so a person would come here, and we have a healing retreat for people. We have people coming from around the world, so people sometimes fly into Ottawa or rent a car, or we'll pick them up. And we have a bed and breakfast for that situation. And they come here, and we have packages for doing past lives. I do higher self and oversoul readings. Catherine does Zenith and Mega. She does amazing things like Fibonacci tuning forks. She does massage, she does Reiki, she does a massive amount of tools. So between the two of us, we have about 64 years or 70 years of expertise. So
take me through a past life
journey.
Session or journey.
Yeah. Well, there's no hypnotism involved.
Okay.
There's no putting you into some meditation state or trance. If you're deeply in the middle of a past life and you have to go to the washroom, you can literally get up, go to the washroom, come back, and go right back into the past life. So I ask the person just to lie down, and we usually put a mask over their eyes because the energy from the guys can get so high that even if your eyes have never fluttered before, they might start fluttering. That seems to calm things down. Then I say a prayer, and we begin. And I ask you to imagine yourself flying above the clouds, and you can fly towards the sun above the clouds or the moon above the clouds. And the first part's imagination, so it's not really, reality. But then what you do, as soon as they got that, they squeeze my hand. And when they squeeze my hand, that gives me permission to work with them guides, and their guides work with me. And then they actually go down through the clouds and right into a past life. And because they can land on solid ground, or they can see themselves as at the time of Christ, they can see themselves in Greek times, they can see themselves in the Civil War, I just never know.
Allan, stand by. You and I have to take our news break at the bottom of the hour. Fascinating topic, fascinating man, X-Zone Nation. My guest this hour is Allan Green. Here's a couple of websites, actually 3 websites. www.allangreen.ca. All right, I'll let you get your pencil there. All right, you got it? Okay, here we go. CrystalEarthHealingSpa.com and CatherineGreen.net. And Allan and I will be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news, continuing to talk about how past life and spiritual journeys can help heal and empower your life. I am Rob McConnell. This is the X Zone. We're coming to you live and around the world from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away. We'll be back right after the news.
Wouldn't you love to know the secret to everything? Well then, meet Dr. Kimberly McGeorge and her cutting-edge breakthrough knowledge that combines science with possibility. Dr. Kimberly brings real-life answers and healing to those open to alternative solutions. She teaches solution-based programs and classes that will change all areas of your life forever. Specializing in conscious creation, intuitive readings, and energy medicine, you can rapidly shift health, relationships, business, and money and abundance challenges quickly. Receive her best-selling book, Secret to Everything, at no cost by going to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone. That's right, transformation can start now. Just go to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone and receive Dr. Kimberly's book for free.
You're listening to the X Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. Thomas Jefferson was a Burgess of 27 when he met Martha Wales Skelton, a 22-year-old widowed heiress who was fondly called Patty by her family. They were married on January the 1st, 1772, and they took up residence in a cabin on the building site on top of a Virginia mountain that Thomas had named Monticello. As Thomas and Patty slowly built their first version of the great house at Monticello, the Revolutionary War was heating up. Patty, with difficulty, bore 5 children, but only 2 girls survived. Thomas's political career developed to the point where he was often away from home, but after he authored and signed the Declaration of Independence in Philadelphia, he resolved never again to leave his wife. He was elected the governor of Virginia, just as that state became the Revolution's last battleground. The Revolutionary War ended in 1781, and Thomas gladly retired altogether to my family, my farm, and my books. But Patty continued to want to bear her treasured husband a son, and late in the summer of 1782, she died of kidney failure at the age of 33, 4 months after having borne yet another girl. Thomas was so devastated by her death that he never remarried. He mourned her for the rest of his life, even as he helped to frame the peace in France and then became the first Secretary of State, the second Vice President, and the third President of the United States. This story is true. Thomas Jefferson was such an obsessive letter writer and record keeper that we know where he was and what he was doing nearly every day of his adult life. Every significant thing he says in My Thomas comes from his contemporary writings. My Thomas by Roberta Grimes is now available at Barnes & Noble, Costco, Target, Books A Million, Hudson Booksellers, Kmart, Walmart, Sam's Club, Walgreens, CVS, and online at Amazon.com. You can visit Roberta Grimes online at www.robertagrimes.com.
The scientist and the mystic have been on an age-old, relentless search with one thing in common. They seek truth. Their paths converge in the 40,000-year-old practice of shamanism, an ancient science delving to the quantum level of life, facilitating healing, manifestation, and evolution. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka, the founder and director of Path Home Shamanic Arts School, a unique Colorado State certified occupational school training shamanic practitioners and teachers. We also provide classes for empowering personal lives through shamanism. Our certification classes are in week-long segments enabling international participation, and online classes and long-distance shamanic healing sessions are available. Come discover the science of magic in the limitless world of shamanism. www.findyourpathhome.com.
Unwilling to be the government's deadly assassin, gifted psychic Kahara Mitchell went AWOL and ended up buried under rubble in the wake of a great tsunami. She regained consciousness far from Earth on the medical ship of a Daguerrean intergalactic fleet. Has she been rescued or abducted by aliens? The Chalice of Carrie, Kahira O'Donnell's latest paranormal science fiction romance, is the passionate story of an Earth woman and her destined mates, twin kings from another galaxy. Kahara uses her gifts fighting alongside Lords Rom and Ra in a war that will determine the destiny of galaxies. The Chalice of Carrie by Kahira O'Donnell is now available at KahiraO'Donnell.com or at Amazon.com. You're listening to the X Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. What Happened in Benghazi is revealed by Nicholas Genix, author of Obama, Islam, and Benghazi. He informs the American people that President Obama deceived them by advocating a strong foreign policy prior to the 2012 presidential election, and Hillary Clinton supported this deception. As the title infers, there is a connection between Obama, Islam, and Benghazi. Ample evidence informs Americans that Obama's early indoctrination in the Quran developed an affinity for Islam, why the Quran is the source of discontent in many countries, and why the Obama foreign policy deception led to poor military action and caused the loss of American lives in Benghazi. Genix provides 36 questions for the Select Committee on Benghazi to validate if Americans are justified to mistrust President Obama and Hillary Clinton. An overview of Obama, Islam, and Benghazi is presented on the website www.futureofgodamen.com. That's www.futureofgodamen.com. Annie Callahan, dedicated to negotiating a position for Earth within the Daguerrean Coalition, had trained for 3 years to become an Earth ambassador. Yet, the very eve of her arrival at the capital ruling planet, she is claimed as destined mate to an oversized, mating-maddened vamp who swears he will never release her. Lord Aztaran, king of the Macian sector, has waited over 900 years for his destined mate. Having found her as an alpha vamp, he is unable to relinquish Annie, virtually holding her hostage until he can claim her. Yet Macians cannot survive without their mate's love. How could he strip her of her citizenship, her ambassadorship, and her freedom and expect to win her heart? With All That I Am by Kahira O'Donnell is the latest book in this exciting series, The Daguerrean Chronicles, guaranteed to keep readers coming back for more. With All That I Am by Kahira O'Donnell is available on Amazon.com and KahiraO'Donnell.com.
You're listening to the X Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. Radio's authority on the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology. Celebrating 25 years of broadcasting. Broadcasting around the world and to the great beyond.
Welcome back, everyone. Allan Green is our special guest. www.allangreen.ca, crystalearthhealingspa.com, and CatherineGreen.net. What do you believe the most important part of your mission is when somebody comes to you and Catherine?
Right. And of course, it is to do with healing. That's the main thing as far as spiritual, physical, emotional, mental. And a lot of people go and try and find out what their mission and purpose. This is a standard thing in life, like, why am I here?
Yeah.
And exactly. And it can be a situation where it's spiritual, because they could be a seer, a psychic, a medium, a channeler. And some days they'll go back and they'll find out that they have that special gift. And I'll actually, let's say they were in a teepee and they could read people, and I would put myself in that teepee with them, even though I wasn't in the past life, and get them to read me. And they could read me perfectly about something that was going on in my life right now. And I say, look, you've never met me before in your life. You just read me perfectly. If you can do it to me, you can do it to anybody else. And then they start manifesting that and actually reading for people. There can also be a healer, and there's almost 25 people that I've worked with that have totally quit their jobs, daytime jobs, and are doing this work full-time because they found out they had a healing ability in a past life, and they're teaching courses and writing books and things like that. Could be a different type of career, or it could be a life mission of getting back together. For instance, a couple in a past life, could have loved each other dearly but never be able to have any children. So this life they choose to be back together in this lifetime, but have kids to even enhance their love more.
Why are we here? What is the purpose of this life? I know it's a simple question.
It's a big question, and I'll try to find if God can answer it.
All right, thank you.
No, the whole point is we're trying to work towards love and become more and more aware and more in tune with what's happening on this planet and other planets and with the universe. And I just believe that that's why we're here, is to grow in love and understanding.
Is it possible that someone on this planet now was actually on a different planet, in a different dimension, in a different reality, prior to coming to this life?
Yes. And one of I have seen like 526 alien species and home planets. There's where people have come to be to do a past life session, and all of a sudden we end up on their home planet because if it is to do with a past life somewhere else before Earth. And the Cherokee Natives believe that if you're on the planet right now, you can have up to 388,000 lives on other planets before you came to Earth.
No wonder I'm so tired.
Exactly. And we were living in different dimensions at the same time, higher and lower worlds, multidimensional lives sideways. So we wake up quite tired in the morning. You're exactly right. But and a lot of alien races I've seen, it's perfection. Wherever they are, there's no wars, everything goes in fluid, but there's no growth. There's no learning. So they send somebody here to learn about frustration, about happiness, about joy, about anger, and therefore when they go back to their home planet, they teach them about that and up-level the whole planet.
So would you say that this planet of ours is the training planet of the cosmos, the existence experimentation, the experiment that you feel what you're missing on your own dimension, in your own planet, in your own life?
That's exactly right. This is the great testing ground. This is where we put it all together. So you could be a Zoran, and I could be a Palladian, and I am, and Catherine's a Syrian. And we come here all forced to be in the same human body to go through the same stuff to learn about love. It's a pretty good picture. It's a pretty good idea.
So this is boot camp 101.
A lot of things we can't do on our home planet we can do here.
So this is boot camp.
For sure. And it can be heaven or hell. It's whatever you want to make it.
I've always said that hell is here on Earth.
Yes, and it really is. It's true. Yeah.
I was just reading part of the information that you were kind enough to send us, and you're a master past life and spiritual journey facilitator. You've been doing this since 1982.
Right.
Release fears, phobias, issues with situations and people that stemmed from a past life. Heal pain from past life wounds. Find your mission or purpose because you were probably already doing it. Right. How do you do that?
Well, for instance, there was a lady who came to me and she said she had not talked to her mother in 9 years. They had a big fight. And she said, she's so belligerent and so, she'll never talk to me and I'll never talk to her and we'll go to our grave this way. So we went back in a past life and we found out the fight in the past life was almost exactly like the fight they had this lifetime. And because when you go into a past life, you're viewing it like a movie. You're kind of remote viewing it. You're not really, in the drama or the anger. And she saw her mother's point of view for the first time, and she forgave her mother, and she forgave herself. The next morning, after 9 years of non-contact, the mother calls. Let's get together, and they're the best of friends now.
If you can't love yourself, no one else will.
That's exactly right.
And if you can't forgive others, you could never forgive yourself.
That is really, really true, yeah. And it's like carrying a big weight around you, and that person you're not forgiving actually still owns you in some way.
So I'm a little confused here, because I always thought that when we came back, well, since this is the cosmic boot camp,
right?
The lady that you were just talking about had a problem with her mother in a previous life. Now, do we keep the same families throughout eternity?
Well, they're interlocking soul groups, but our main soul group is up to 12 people, and they do, they'll integrate all in China, or they'll integrate in Australia or Africa, and they'll all reincarnate in that same way. If part of your major soul group you're in Canada and they're Australia, you will travel to Australia and meet up with that one person, or they'll come to Canada and meet up with you.
Is that why there are people that we meet that it's just an automatic draw, or in the case of myself and my wife, love at first sight? But apparently this wasn't first sight.
It's amazing out of how many billions of people that can happen. And it overlaps. For instance, I'll give you an example. A lady came to me, and she said, I want to find out how I knew my fiancé in a past life. And her mother was with her. And she says, one thing about my mother is kind of crazy. The first time I went on a date with him and he was walking up the driveway, my mother said, marry him. And she said, this is crazy. And after a year, I finally agreed he was the best catch, and I'm going to marry him. And so we went back in the past life and found out that her mother was married to her fiancé in a past life.
Oh, kinky.
And that's how she knew that he would be a good man.
Well, that's rather kinky now, isn't it?
Well, if you want to think of it that way, but if you think of the beauty of it, it's how it works out, And sometimes a mother will give birth to a son who's her soulmate, and a man will sometimes give birth to a daughter who's his soulmate.
Do we make our plans on what we're going to do, what we're going to accomplish, what we're going to set out to do before we're born, whether it's on this dimension, this planet, or another planet somewhere else?
Yes, we do. There's a thing called 12 creator gods that are your own personal creator gods who get together with you in spirit before you're born, and you lay out your life, and you basically say, I'm going to meet and talk to Ron Rob on the X-Zone at this certain time. I'm going to meet my wife. I'm going to move to Canada. I'm going to do this. You arrange it, and all these people's spirits arrange. They're going to meet with you and help you with a certain situation as well. And so your whole life is planned out for you. And so you can get an urge, like I had an urge to hike down to the bottom of the Grand Canyon in 1992, and I did it. And I met tons of great people that I would have never met if I hadn't done that. And so the universe lays it out in front of you, and when you got the opportunity to do it, you do it, and you'll meet these people. And they're supposed to just flow along in life to learn the lessons.
But if we have free will, and even though we've made these plans before we come here,
right?
Let's say we're here and we kind of get attached to one idea or another that wasn't in the script or the plan that we made before we were born.
Yes.
Can that screw up everything?
Yeah, that's an incredibly wise answer or question. I hope I can give a good wise answer. Edgar Casey said that the top 50% of your life is all these thousands and thousands of things you planned on learning this lifetime. And the bottom 50% of your life is free will. And you can say, screw it, I want to be an alcoholic this whole lifetime. And because of free will, you will be allowed to do that.
Interesting.
But then when you want to go back on path, you're right back on. In reincarnation, you basically, you can leave the planet when you die and go to other planets and come back 4,000 years later. But as soon as you come back, you're locked right into the very same time frame and experience and the karma that you had before.
What happens to, well, no, let's scratch that and ask a different question.
Okay.
What about ghosts? What about spirits? Are they real?
Yeah, back in 1975, I could see spirit as clear as I could see you. And I'd go into a party of 20 people, and there'd be 40 spirits looking at me. And I can see them, and they knew I could look at them, and they'd wave at me. And I'd wave back, and people say, who are you waving at? I go to a party, in my 20s, and and I'd be talking to this man that was in his 40s in the corner, having a great conversation. Then after half an hour, go, wait a minute, you're dead, aren't you? And I wake up in the middle of the night, and there'd be this face right in front of me, as clear as anybody's face, and it scared the living daylights out of me. So I realized that was kind of a circus, and now I only see spirit when I want to see spirit. And so there can be many different forms of spirit, people who have not passed over to the light. When we do meet your spirit guides, one of the two things we do is talk with people who've passed over. And if there's somebody that, like a person, for instance, if they die of cancer, they may be so drugged up that they don't know they're dead. And so they get trapped between worlds. And then there can be suicide thing too. That's a long story about that, what happens with that. But also, die quickly in an accident, or they have grief. They feel that they don't know they're dead. Remember the movie Sixth Sense?
Yes.
Same concept, yeah.
You said that there were 526 alien species?
And home planets that I've seen.
And home planets.
Mm-hmm. And everyone's different. I've never seen two the same.
Are they friendly? Are they...
Gosh, every one of them has been friendly. There are alien races that are not friendly, that are here to have a different agenda and everything else, and they will try and dupe you and everything like that, and they'll make apparitions of themselves that seem good, but they're not. But 99% of the ones I've seen were always in a place of love, and there was never any negativity at all.
Really?
Yeah, I'm lucky about that.
So, are there, in your opinion, based on the work that you do, are there aliens, are there ETs visiting this planet in what we call UFOs?
There are. Most of us on this planet are from somewhere else.
Right.
So in a way, we all are aliens.
Yeah.
There was a seeded race that is here. That some of them are still left, but most of them are from somewhere else. Like I was in Lemuria, and where Hawaii is originally. Yeah. I was in Atlantis, places like that. But as far as visitations, I'm sure there must be. I experienced a couple of them when I was down in Sedona, Arizona, with a couple of people. So and they will hide in cloud ships. We're doing a past life with a lady, and she says, well, there's an ocean below me, and there's a highway along the ocean. I can see it, but it's kind of cloudy. And I said, look around, and she said, I'm in the spaceship. And she was in the top part of the spaceship, the conning tower, and it was hiding itself in a cloud. And I myself was in London, Ontario, and I heard this whirling outside my apartment. I went on the top floor, and I looked out, and there was not one cloud in the sky except for this one right over my head. And I said, I know you're there. And all of a sudden, it just took off and went across the city really fast.
London, Ontario is a great place. I lived in London, and I worked at CJBK.
Oh, it's a great station. Yeah, down on Wellington South.
That's right, yeah. I just lived on Sandringham Crescent.
Oh, beautiful area.
Yep.
Quite a conservative city.
Very, very. In fact, our granddaughter is completing school there, and she's just finishing a paralegal course at Ryerson.
Wow. Is that at the university?
You know what? The name of the school?
Oh, I think it could be I know that there's a man that supplied the part of the university for that.
Yeah. Beautiful city. And, well, geez, how did we get off track? We're talking about London.
I don't know. We're talking about London. But there's many different species. Like, for instance, there's a lot of earth angels that are coming down to help us with this time. Because this is the first time in the history of the universe that a planet is ascending with the people. So you've got Atlanteans, Lemurians, creator gods. You have all the different alien races of Pleiadians, Sirians, Lyrians, Alpha Centaurians, and fairies in human form. Like Catherine, my wife, came down as an earth angel with wings, but then all of a sudden, when she first came on the earth, they said, do you want to become a human? She said, well, that's too violent. So for, quite a few hundred years, she was a fairy before she became a human. And there are also creator gods that have come down here who helped originally creators, because this is the ascension is happening now. They've come to help it finish its ascension. And I was working with a man, and he took me way out in the universe, and his wife was sitting beside him when he was lying on the table. And I said, why are you taking me out here in the universe? He says, Allan, because you're the designer and I am the engineer. So I realized at that time that I am a creator god too. Many of us are. How
would you explain to our listeners who may not be as savvy as you and I are with all these terms that we've been talking about, when we talk about the ascension?
Right. Now, ascension is not like you're going to leave and be in a different dimension and disappear. Ascension means that you as a person rise to a higher level, and you're not any better than anybody else, but you just chose to do that. And when you reach to a higher level, the whole world spins around you differently. It acts around you differently. For instance, all of a sudden, car spots open up when you need a car spot, or magic seems to happen, or everything is in perfect flow. And a perfect example I give is that you can be talking to somebody about something, and then the next week you talk and you say the very same thing to them, and they do not understand you. And the reason is because your vibration in that 1 week has increased so much that the frequency, they don't understand you.
That's a good way of looking at it. How about dragons? I noticed in your information you talk about dragons.
Right. And I actually have a book coming out hopefully by the end of March. It's a book about myself and all my experiences, basically just scratching the surface. I was going to write a book first about dragons in human form because I have met 8 people who are actually dragons in human form. But if I wrote that book first and it became a hit, people would say, well, where's your credibility? Who are you? So I'm writing a book about myself first. And one of the things that happens with me a lot is that people come and do a past life, and they'll find out when they meet their spirit guides, they have their own spiritual dragon, a dragon in spirit that helps them. And that dragon, helps them with their ascension and everything else. But it also, if they think about their children, the dragon will automatically go in spirit and wrap its wings around their kids, protect them, and sends them back a psychic message of how they're doing. The dragon has prevented accidents. It can wrap its wings around you and your friends to protect you, all sorts of things.
Alan, stand by. We've got to take our final break. Exo Nation, Allan Green is my special guest. AllanGreen.ca, CrystalEarthHealingSpa.com, and CatherineGreen.net. We'll be back on the other side of the short break as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away, my friends.
Little children aren't the only ones afraid of the dark. Millions of soldiers return from war zones with PTSD, anger, frustration, fear, and loneliness, much of which surfaces during the darkness of the night. You have the chance to change the lives of these American heroes. Songs and Stories for Soldiers.us provides free MP3 players for these men and women. With a list of 3 million songs in 16 different styles, 100,000 audiobooks, and 30,000 old-time radio programs, every veteran can find something to soothe and comfort them at no cost. All our players contain an 8-hour audio program designed to help veterans fall asleep. With 1,500 plus vets now participating, it's our goal to deliver 10,000 audio players this year. Go to our website at songsandstoriesforsoldiers.us. Help us help a veteran make it through the night.
I am Dr. Carl O'Helvey, founder, president of a new cancer foundation focusing on evidence-based physical, mental, and spiritual interventions, including natural cancer cures, prayer, meditation, affirmations, nutrition, and other related holistic cancer prevention and cure modalities. These are used in cancer education, research, and financing care. I ask for your help to continue this important work by donating at www.holisticcancerfoundation.com.
You're listening to the X Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. If you enjoy reading a good mystery with a touch of the paranormal, then you'll love From Out of the Woodwork by William S. Peckham. Sean Kennedy, a Toronto contractor, buys derelict houses, guts them, and turns them into multi-family dwellings. When Sean buys 29 Livery Lane, a century house in ruins, and starts the renovation, the house fights back. He is visited by ghosts of owners past. His visions are triggered by touching an oak mantle, reading a faded letter, opening an old locket, or opening a brand new casket in the basement. These visions will take you on a trip across southern Ontario from Niagara Falls to Toronto to Kingston. From Out of the Woodwork is now available in paperback and on your favorite electronic reader. To order your copy of From Out of the Woodwork, go to www.williamspeckham.com. That's www.williamspeckham.com. You're listening to the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. Welcome back, everyone. Allan Green is my special guest. It's been a great hour talking to Allan. The topic of the hour has been how past life and spiritual journeys can help heal and empower your life. First of all, Allan, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's been a great pleasure talking to you. Congratulations on the great work that you do, and congratulations on your new book that's coming out later on this year.
Thank you so much. I finally feel after all these years, I'm like 67 years old, I have enough information I can sort of share with people.
You know what? It's never too late to share information.
Right on.
Listen, let me ask you, what does spiritual and healing work, what kind of work does Catherine do within your organization?
Yes, Catherine has an amazing ability to work with people on a one-to-one. She is intuitive. She's also very good at checking out implants. Mm-hmm. She can see implants in people and read them. I'm a medical intuitive, so we work together as a team. She does Fibonacci tuning fork sessions. She does massage. She does a thing called bars. She does all sorts of modalities that really a hot stone massage, that type of thing, with essential oils.
Wow.
So she's into the hands-on physical healing thing, whereas I'm into more spiritual psychotherapy and higher self-oversoul stuff too. Sounds like
you two are a match made in heaven.
We wake up every morning, say we're going to bring heaven to earth, and we really work on it, and we happen to do it. And we look at each other, and I'm just so blessed that we're in each other's lives, and that she is the divine complement of me, and I'm the divine complement of her.
Allan, what is your final message for the X-Zone Nation around the world tonight?
That when these people say, "Well, I'll believe it when I see it." Well, it's actually you'll see it when you believe it, and that's just the way it goes. The women are leading the spiritual journey forward, and men are supposed to support them. Not only that, we're supposed to give some of our power and learn about our own power. And so this is a wonderful time in the history of the universe where everything is coming together, and all the forces in the universe and the earth are getting together to help this earth ascend. I'm very honored to be a part of that.
What can people do? I've got about 2 minutes left here. What can people do to better understand themselves and their spirituality within each and every one of us?
Right. The one thing is that the guides that you have will give you signs. And the first thing you get is your heart telling you it's true. The second thing is your mind saying it can't be true. So when you have a sign, all of a sudden there'll be signs and symbols and people put in your place, and you're supposed to flow with that. If you try to control life, the famous joke is, if you want to make God laugh, tell God what you got planned for your life. So you just watch everything that flows and just flow in that way. And the more you surrender to life, the more easier it gets, and the more the universe works with you.
I've always believed in my heart of hearts that life is simple. We complicate it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, keep it as simple as possible, and as pure as possible, and be incredibly honest with yourself and others, and everything will flow.
Allan, I want to thank you once again for joining us. A great pleasure talking to you. Please give my very best to Catherine, and I look forward to having you back on the show when your book is available so we can talk about it on air.
I look forward to that too.
Take care of yourself, my friend.
Thank you, my friend. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now. X-Zone Nation, my guest this hour has been Allan Green. Here are a couple of websites: allangreen.ca, crystalearthhealingspa.com, and catherinegreen.net. Now, I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news as we continue here in the X-Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Worldwide toll-free 1-800-610-7035. My email address, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, on all social media sites, X-Zone Radio TV, and our main website where you can listen to the X-Zone 724, 365, as well as the live show Monday through Friday from 8 p.m. Eastern until midnight. www.xzoneradiotv.com. And don't forget our podcast site, xzonepodcast.com. Don't go away. We'll be back after this news as we continue here in the X Zone.